All right. And we are earlier and live. And welcome to the last word. Lord Cognito, Ebontis, TieGuyTravis should be in progress
Yeah, he'll be
on that.
here in a little bit once he finishes something up,
Yeah.
so he'll be here soon.
On that Thursday afternoon
Yes. Sun is still
podcast.
out for all of us,
Yes.
actually.
Yes. How we doing, E?
Doing pretty good. Been
Mhm.
playing a lot of things. Played all the way through Flintlock. I dropped my
Mhm.
review on that one. I ended up giving it about a 7 out of 10. It's kind of one of those where I because we've talked before, Travis had said that like IGN doesn't round up, which does preserve the nature of a 10. You're not going to take like a 9.75 and make it a 10. That's still going to be a 9. A 10 is going to be
Mhm.
special. But for me, it's also one of those if something I think is like maybe this is a 6.75 or even a, like not like somewhere in that realm, but it feels like a 6 is not the right rating for it. I will round up
Gotcha.
on some. So for me, a 6, it's a good 15-hour experience. It's got a couple difficulty levels. It's got some souls action. There's no stamina meter, so I know that's something a lot of people will play with, being able to swing as much as you want. Still got to learn the, enemy attacks. If you die, you got to go pick up your souls or you get them back. There's just some things about it. I also went to go check up just some historic, like, hey, let me go check out an old story trailer to wrap my head around, like,
Yeah.
what's happening and stuff. And you check out some of the trailers, like, hey, the game's coming in 2022 or 2023, and we're here in July of 24. I'm like, this has been thought about for a while.
Yeah.
Um, this is one of those to where, and this feels like a horrible description, but I don't mean it that way. If I was ever to be part of a small studio that put out a game like this, I would feel very proud because generally it looks pretty good. You see like the detail, they use like the meta Unreal for faces
Mhm.
in like some of the close-ups. You can see some pretty damn good detail in there. Um, Combat feels generally pretty good. There's only a couple like cheap shots, I would say, most of the way through. Couple big
Mhm.
boss fights, unique environments. Like if I was part of making this and this was, I would be so ecstatic, like to be like, "Hey, dude, I
Yeah.
put this game out. This is like, look what I was part of." And it's like small
Mhm.
studio A44, and they did Ashen before,
Yeah, I
which
remember
was in
them.
a smaller game.
Mhm. Interviewed that
But
developer for Ashen as well.
I
Remember?
feel like we are getting to the point where we have FromSoft setting the bar really high. Lies of P is the closest thing I have played. So good. Like
Maddie
for me, I
agrees.
know I was like I've listened to Maddie talk about it
Bro,
too,
Maddie
and
goes
I actually
hard.
heard him and Gene when they did the full
Yes.
spoiler breakdown. That was really good because you get into the
Mhm.
lore and the story and the choices.
Mhm.
Um, Lies was just fantastic. The way the world environment. I mean, they hit all the pieces, and then you kind of get this is where I call it kind of double A. And I don't mean
Okay.
that in a bad way, but that it's 15
Yeah.
hours, it's the size of the budget, it's
Mhm.
um the things about it, but it's a 15-hour with difficulty options. Like if you want to go through on story
Oh,
mode,
really?
you can go smack around guys, probably not have too difficult of a time. If you want to test your souls like skills, you can go put it on possessed mode and things are going to be pretty tough.
Mhm.
As things scale. It's just there's some choices about when you earn souls, that is the one currency in the entire game, leveling up gear, opening up skills. It's not a true RPG in the sense that you're going to have stamina and vigor and dexterity. You're not going to be putting your points into there. You either unlock skills, which will change how the game plays, or you're going to level up your gear, which does either make your weapons hit harder, give your armor a bit higher stats, that kind of thing. Um, but overall, it's one currency for that.
Mhm.
And when you get to leveling up your pieces of gear, the like exponential escalation, it goes like, oh, you need 3,000 for level 1, then 7,500, then like 13,000, and then the next
Ramp
one was
up.
like 27,000. And again,
Mhm.
you have to hold that many without dying or make sure you go back to pick them up. And it's like I finally beat a boss to get that next upgrade because it was a big enough drop of souls.
Mhm.
So it's that kind of thing. So the fact that it's used for that, and it's just it feels so hard to try any of the other gear. Like I leveled up some like armor pieces and I leveled up a couple of weapons, both ranged and melee. But when I didn't, I had other ones that I could try and I don't think I found them all. But for me, it was just the fact that I was not incentivized. The upgrades were too expensive for me to try
Yeah.
anything else. There was not a lot. It's not like when you run around in Dark Souls, you pick up like the basic leveling stone. And then
Mhm.
after a while, you've got so many of those, you can take 6 different weapons up to like level 4. And then
Right.
you get to the next part of the game, and then you get enough of that thing where you can level up a bunch of weapons to like level 7. There is none of that. You get to pick one,
You
and
know,
if you take it
yeah.
far enough, you're not gonna get everyone through it. So that's just kind of why it was a bit limited.
Mm,
I took like the main acts and the main stuff through, and I had a decent time. I like her and Inky. Their kind of back and forth relationship as that kind of things unravel. And
mm,
some of the boss fights were actually decently designed and cool, but it was a double A Souls, it was a
yeah.
smaller studio, and I don't want to mean it in a bad way.
Right.
It is a 7 for what it is. I don't think a
Not for that.
6 is I think a 6 is too harsh
Gotcha.
to me, but I saw 6s and I definitely understand that depending on how you play through. If I want to start getting critical, it could have dropped down if I want to really
Mm,
start nitpicking. So it depends on how much you want to nitpick, I think. So played that. I've heard you on Defining Duke for 2 weeks in a
mhm,
row talking about Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, which is on my list to play. But I've also been
mhm.
trying to play First Ascendant. So I got my second
Ooh,
video up for that one.
nice,
And
nice.
then also been playing Once Human, and I got through the second territory boss in that one as well. And I know I talked about them last week, but both of those are not small games, and they're still both over 100,000 concurrent. Once Human actually passed First Ascendant, but they're both sitting at like 130, 160. They're both
Yeah,
busy games, so it's interesting to see the free to play success when the free to play is there, but in very different ways. It's just kind
different
of
ways.
interesting to see. So that, and then
Mhm.
of course, in the middle of all of this, Destiny drops Act
Of
2
course,
on
of
Tuesday.
course.
So I had to
Yes,
jump
yes.
in and check that one out. So that's what I've been doing.
Same.
What about you? I know I've heard you on podcasts because you're how
Mm.
I kind of keep up in the world of Xbox.
Yeah, see what's going on.
Typically between Defining Duke and then
Mhm.
Friends Per Second.
FPS,
FPS is I
shaking
know
the
because yeah, you've
homies.
met Skill Up multiple times now. I always
Yeah,
forget
I gotta
he's
get.
like 6'2", 6'3". I always forget how
Yeah,
tall
he's
he
tall.
is.
He's
I always forget how
tall.
tall he is. Like I'm a
Mhm,
little taller than you, but not much. But I know
mhm.
he's
Oh
he
yeah,
he. I mean, one of my best friends growing up was like 6'5", so I'm used to being short, even though I'm not.
same,
I'm not that short, but I'm used to feeling short.
same.
So then when I meet
Yep.
people like that, I'm like, "Yep, how's it going?"
Same. Yeah, man. Nah, it's just, for me, it's been obviously getting ready for Path of Goddess that should be today, right? I believe it's the
Uh, yeah, I feel like it's like
yeah.
now
Yeah,
or
it should be like
something.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a recording. So yeah, that'll be getting downloaded, getting that riled up. But actually surprising everybody with everybody knows when I went to LSM live event when they asked me to do what's the most overrated game of all time?
Or you've been playing college football. And I
I
know
went
where
in
this is going
Madden.
because
I
yours was
went in that
Madden for
Madden
that. And
because I
honestly, I
am
get that on Madden because even I'm like you, I miss NFL quarterback club, like stuff like that back then. And EA has
uh
been lazy on that license for a very long time. When you did that, I was like, this is a legitimate pick. I
yeah.
was I don't know if it would be my most overrated because some things get overhyped, but
Yeah.
I mean the amount of people that just buy it year after year after year for the lack of no, believe me, when you said that, I was like, that's a solid choice. I was on board. I got you. So how's
Yeah,
college football
man.
feeling?
So I came in very hesitant because I'm like, I'm seeing the discourse and people are like going crazy. And then you got to remember, I never went to a big school, so I don't have those
I went to
sensibilities.
KU. Their football program right now is
Mhm.
okay. Their football program when I was there, 1 for 12 for the season. And they're in the Big 12 conference. They got the crap kicked out of them. Because at the time it was like
Yeah.
Oklahoma, Texas,
Yeah.
Kansas State, Mizzou, which is where Craig Miller went.
Hmm. Hmm.
All of
Hmm.
those were just kicking the crap out of Kansas. Like they've been to a couple bowl games, but even for me, college football has never been a big draw either. So I'm
Yeah.
with you on that mostly.
Yeah. It was just like, all right, let me see what the hype is. And again, as a person who plays Madden every year, I'm very concerned because very minimal changes as far as the offensive, defensive, AI, and basic stuff. So I'm like, all right. And I'm seeing people go crazy. I'm like, all right. But I'm like, I ain't willing to commit. I don't trust them.
Now
I think people are
I want to
get
ask you a
emotional.
question.
Get
Did you hear? I don't know if you listen to other podcasts or not.
hmm. Hmm.
Um, it's not XCast anymore. It's just Games Daily, I guess. But
Oh, Greg
Mike,
and them?
yeah, Greg. What is Mike's last name?
Briefly.
Snowbike
You talking
Mike or
about a
Snowbike
Snowbike.
Mike.
Yeah, Snowbike.
Um, More critical than I actually expected because
Yeah,
I know he is like going to
mhm.
be like he definitely feels like he falls into the sports category,
Yeah.
and he had some thoughts. I was actually kind of surprised to hear that from him. I kind of would have expected a little higher
Mhm.
praise. I would have expected him and Greg to have flipped opinions, I think.
Right. Both seemed like they were opposite. They did come across my feed. I watched for a little bit. No, look, this is my feeling. As a person who plays Madden all the time, one of the frustrations with Madden is before the ball gets to you or whatever, there's like a pre-canned animation and everything is
Yep.
sluggish and it's the computer's doing that part of the work and then you get control,
Yeah.
right? So the first thing I noticed off the bat with this game is the gameplay is fast and tight and responsive. That was the first thing. So when you, like as a running back, you're running the ball, you actually seeing the holes open, things develop. First thing off the bat, the presentation, I ain't gonna hold you. Like I've been to only like maybe 2 college football games in my life. So I picked like Michigan versus Ohio State, see a
Well, I
rivalry
mean,
game.
okay, holy crap, yeah.
Right. So Michigan, they're doing the hail to the victor. They doing the whole thing. They got the touching of the thing. I'm like, hey, yo,
I heard like the themes aren't really the themes. It's just like generic music, though. They're not like the school themes.
Some of them are, but some of them are a little generic. But what I will say is they've got the stadium, the field, the band during the cuts to the crowd, and like it's a thing. Like they're for the most part. See, I haven't been to a big school, so I can't say for how authentic every single aspect of it.
Yeah.
But as a casual, neutral observer, I'm like, yo, this is a different feel from Madden. Like this is. I will admit, and then what I noticed is they got this like rivalry meter, like based on, for example, like you're playing in Michigan, Ohio State was on the road playing. So like when you're trying to pick the plays, like they try to show you the strength of the home field advantage in the effect on the gameplay, which is kind of cool. Now nitpick, when they do the close cuts to the crowd. When they do the far away, like they look kind of generic and they look framey.
Are we doing
console.
The basic 2D?
Yeah,
2D guys in the stands.
Not the 2D, but the basic generic 3D people.
This is like if I made a 3D model and then they copied it 100. This is my Blender 3D like sphere sitting on a cone with like arms going, kind of.
Exactly. So I was like, all right, I exposed them there, but the gameplay models. It is really tight. It's fun. I have to admit, they've done a lot of things that I could already see. This is the advantage of a franchise that has been gone away for almost 10 some odd years, whatever it is. And they actually have the cycle time to put in the work to make it, look good. So yeah, but I will say this. I'm surprised. Do you see how many? Somebody sent me this stat, like Matt Piscatella. It was like all these Xbox Series S's are being sold. I'm like, what is going because of this game? And I'm like,
I heard somebody talking about this, and I can't remember what show I was listening to. Mm-hmm. Somebody was wondering. It's like I'm wondering how many console sellers this is. How many people are going to go and finally be like, I finally got my college game. It has been 4 or 5 years. I've been sitting on this PS4 or Xbox One or PS4 Pro or Xbox Series X or One X. I've been sitting on this thing for a while. I want to play my college football game that I haven't had in 10 years on the new console.
Bro, it's happening.
And I believe that. Like on both sides, I believe that happening.
Engagement was like over 600,000. And this was just like the pre-beta thing, right? Like this is like the early access beta. Then like what was the other stat I saw? That was just like crazy. I saw like I saw how many like Series S's were sold or whatever. So what it is it's next gen only, and it's not on PC, which is surprising. So people are finally jumping to next gen.
It's next gen only.
Yes, it is not on the old systems. So I'm like, because I was like, what? No disrespect, I like Xbox, but I'm like, why are people buying Series S for this? I couldn't, and it makes sense now. Like, lowest point of entry. They want to play the new college football game. They didn't want to spend $5 or whatever. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Yeah, they're gonna break records. This game is showing me already. Like, I'm not gonna get too crazy with GTA 6 type trajectory, but it's insane. It's going to be that one of those.
This long in the making. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because, as you said, people have been holding on. And, if like Madden hasn't been the incentive, as you've said, as well as you said, it's like, it's fine. It's not that great. Maybe I'll play the last one. Some people buy the upgrades and stuff. But finally, like the big drop in a decade. It has been, 10 years, right? Something like that.
10 years. Yeah. Like 20 years.
Oh, we lost Travis again.
Oh, we lost. Hopefully we get the Trav back. We get the time back.
I was adjusting the windows. Now he's messing with me again.
He'll be back. Probably had a little technical difficulty.
I I believe this 100%. I do believe
Yeah,
consoles are going to go off the shelves for college
bro.
football because people have been waiting, and you have a
Yeah,
whole bunch of people, me, Travis, like whether you were in college even in the last decade or so, or for us, I've been removed from college for a while, but you still enjoyed that experience back then and you've been waiting so long to
absolutely,
get back into it. The disposable
absolutely.
income of our age is a little higher. So now
Right.
dropping it on a console right now makes more
Yep.
sense. So
And
I
think about
get that.
yeah, I'm sorry. And think about the younger kids who are going to school who wanna what you call it, get into this game. Like it's a big deal. And I didn't realize the effect and the emotionality of not having a college football game and what it's really doing. But yeah, I've been playing that, and then obviously Destiny. We would get into a lot to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? As far as obviously the storyline, and then what I feel about the gameplay and the weapons and the artifact. I got a lot to talk about there.
Shout out
Hmm.
to chat, by the way, talking about a little college football. University
Hmm.
of Southern Carolina. Is that the US? It's not USC. It's not the Trojans
No,
out in California, but Southern
no, that's
Carolina.
California.
I want to say that's the Gamecocks, if I remember correctly. It's like a rooster
Hmm.
looking.
Hmm.
Uh,
I forget now,
so you,
but yeah,
Reginald, you have to let me know if I'm right.
USC or Reginald Brown said USC. USC is Southern California, but
Southern
Reginald
Carolina, but yeah, but if
South
it's
Carolina might be
SEC, I'm curious if I got the mascot right. I could be totally wrong,
mm.
and it is the Gamecocks.
Gamecocks.
Hey, got a
Okay, yeah, you
winner.
got it. You got it. You got it. You got it.
I don't
Yeah,
know all the mascots by any means, but
not either.
yeah,
The
it's like
only college football
Tennessee.
game
Yeah,
I
I was
went
like, I know
to.
some of the bigger ones though.
Yeah, the only college football game I went to was West Lafayette, Purdue, Boilermaker versus
Okay.
Ohio State, and bro, that's when I realized college football, like the whole town is
If
involved with
yeah, I
this.
mean, if it's
It
a
is a
big,
different
if it's a
thing.
decent sized thing, I mean, KU's got a decent stadium. I went to Kansas, but
Mhm.
I mean, they are basketball haven. They
Yeah.
are college basketball like mecca for I mean, Allen Fieldhouse is truly iconic. That was my experience for college sports was going to Allen Fieldhouse,
Mhm.
watching a game, and not sitting down for 2 hours because you're on your feet because it was like a 3 point game. It was like KU and Texas kind of in their high at a
Mhm.
point. But it is
Oh,
insane in there. It is
bro, it's
so,
insane.
and
It is
that's kind of the thing.
insane.
Like if you go to like an Ohio State or an Alabama or
Oh,
any of the big college
there's
football schools, those
nothing like
stadiums
it.
are not. I mean, Texas's stadium is I've driven by it. Not they're huge.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean they're second to NFL, but it's just
Mhm.
the hype in there is
Yeah, the
just
energy.
absolute. Yeah, the energy is
Yeah,
kind
the
of on
energy
another
is
level.
so yeah, I'm just shocked to see, like I said, what this college football game is doing for gaming and getting people to actually jump to next gen. Obviously, like I said, the fact that it's not on PC, the fact that it's
I was even thinking
it
about
shows
like
you
you try
how
and
bad people want a college football game.
yeah, I was even thinking about trying what was it, EA Play? Because you get like the 10 hours with
Oh
EA
yeah, I
Play.
did that. That's how I jumped out.
Yeah.
Bro, get in that EA play for the 10 hours.
But I was
You lit.
thinking about it on PC, but it's not there apparently.
I
So
know it's only console only, which also is amplifying all these I'm like, why is the Series S selling so much? What is
oh yeah,
happening?
it's a cheap way to get in the next gen
Cheap
for
way to
that.
get
Makes
in.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What's up,
What's up, Trav?
Travis?
What's going on,
What up,
man?
guys?
He's sitting in
Mhm.
the he's getting his left side tan today. So
I'm gonna close this window real quick.
Oh, yeah.
it's just
Get the crows, baby. Like, keep the crows under control. No, shout out to the Reginald. Shout out to Back for that. Shout out to Sin.
is that the
No.
deal guy? Are you talking about like Deal or No Deal? Like Howie Mandel? Is that what you're asking about? Is Travis Howie Mandel now? Is that where
deal
we're at?
guy? What's going on, Trav?
What's up, Travis? What have you been up to? We missed you last week for our interview with Jimmy. I mean, we had a blast, but
Yeah, you'd have
I know
loved it.
you were
You'd have loved it.
traveling to a
Yeah.
pretty fun spot too,
Yeah.
so I don't think you missed as much per se because you were in a pretty cool territory, I
Mhm.
think. But you'll get to talk about that later.
Yes, I was doing some coverage for IGN that will be live later today,
Woo!
and
Just like not that
yeah,
long.
not that long at all. Yeah,
Yep.
Nice.
but yeah, missed you guys, and I'm sorry that I missed the interview. Who was it you guys were interviewing?
Jimmy Myers, the
Somebody
cinematics
important.
director.
Cinematics director.
So
Mhm.
we figured out he's the cinematics director for Bungie as a whole, actually, which
Mhm.
has implications for other projects, which
Yeah.
is fun.
Formerly, what
Oh,
is it?
interesting. Very
At
cool.
Infinity
You guys
Ward.
get any
Formerly,
scoops?
No, he gave us a little couple bars. He
Oh
gave us a couple
yeah.
bars.
So the campfires, like them sitting around the campfire. His favorite game is Chrono Trigger, which obviously works well for me.
They had a
But
bromance
it's like,
immediately.
but that campfire scene is kind of like originates and has some history to the Chrono Trigger campfire scene that we got in now Destiny 2. So that was like a 30-year coming full circle thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Remember what he said about clothes and cinematics? How
oh,
the hardest
Claw.
thing is
Yeah.
cloth is having characters sitting down in cinematics that have cloth. So I'm just thinking about like, damn, Osiris giving them hell.
Yeah.
Just all the
Big
damn
giant
feathers,
robe
you know?
has to drape
I'm like,
down.
oh man, yeah. Talk about that, and then Excision. You know, I was in my bag. I was like, bro, y'all did that. So like, talked about all like,
Excision was quite a
yeah, that was
discussion
fun.
because it was the amount of work involved and like the technical hurdles that they went through to make the 12-person activity happen, to get all of
Mhm.
like the characters involved, and then the cinematics. Like they did stunt work and wire work. The Zavala jump with the stasis hand was actually like wire work for the motion capture. They actually did a full jump like that. It was really cool.
It was really cool.
We had some good nuggets in there. We
Mhm.
also finally learned they're not like the storyboard cutscenes; they're called motion graphics, which seems like
Motion
such a generic
graphics.
term to me.
Yeah,
But
I
it's like,
was
but
kind
it
of
is what I
disappointed at the
mean.
term.
It makes sense, but it also doesn't feel like it does what those are justice. But I get it.
Mhm.
And
The
then we
time was
also,
limited. Yeah.
oh no, I was like, and we also got the difference of the CG cutscenes that we get versus anything that is in game is when they want to have the guardian in there. So the one where they're sitting on the edge with the lanterns, or the guardian scene with a very specific, moment. Um, I'm not going to spoil in case people haven't
Right.
played the final shape, but a very specific bright glowing moment. They had to go way more detail because it was in engine than they normally ever do. But if our guardian was going to be in there, they actually had to go over the top because it was in engine and they didn't just do a pre-rendered CG thing. So it was just those little things of, if you see like the guardian, but it's in high detail, no, that was like a decent amount of extra work. Then it normally would be just like render a CG cutscene. They can still do it high detail, but in a different way. So it was really cool to kind of hear the differences about why they choose what to do and kind of some of the Easter eggs we got. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah. It was fun. Great guy. Love
Very
his
cool.
energy. Yeah. Super dope.
Yeah, that we could have talked to him for like another hour. So
Yeah.
he had a
trust me, I
time
was trying-
constraint for 45 minutes, and we probably broke it to like 50 minutes.
Yeah,
but
we definitely. He's having fun though. Jimmy's having fun.
he well, because it was like getting to the end, and then like you kind of asked him like one more question, then he goes off on an answer. I'm like, all right, you're talking now. It's not the one where it's like short answer and they want to go. It's like they're feeling it, so it's okay.
Absolutely, that's when you know it's good.
But yeah, I guess we'll ask you next week what your visit was all about, because
Yes,
I don't know if you can officially say quite yet. Maybe during the episode. We'll see.
Gotta respect.
Probably
Yeah.
right after.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Cool.
But what have you been playing? What have you been up to besides your travels and wedding planning? That could be all encompassing for all I know.
Yeah. Yeah, just working on some other stuff. I've had some pretty interesting life changes, all in a row, that have been definitely time consuming, but all good stuff, or yeah, almost all. And then what did I review last week? I reviewed something. Oh, I reviewed the Concord beta.
Oh yeah,
Which I don't know if you guys played
I
that at
saw
all, but
your top level thoughts. I did see your top
I've
level
been
thoughts.
listening to kind of mixed thoughts. Like, it seems a little light for what it's offering, but the gameplay itself sounds fun, is kind of the general sampling that I've heard.
Yeah, I think I just focused on like the gameplay because it is a beta. Like half of the game modes were locked out to you, and it's kind of hard to see like what it's actually gonna feel like. But yeah, just for like a beta with like a small taste of it, it was pretty impressive. I think it also is there's an open beta that starts today.
Yep.
So
New
it goes
mode,
throughout the
new
weekend,
map.
so if people want to play it. Yeah,
I think
I'll
too.
probably jump in there just to see what's up. And then right now I'm reviewing Earth Defense Force 6,
Okay.
which is, I don't know if you guys have played Earth Defense Force,
I
but
just find it funny when anything gets up to like the 6th release. I usually know at
yeah,
that point it's going to be
they're
something.
they're like famously bad games that also are amazing because it's like a so bad it's good, and like the creators know exactly what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like they know that they're making the worst game ever, but it's funny. right? And yeah, that game's 4-player co-op. So D and I have been playing it, and then we're
Oh,
having some friends come over tonight to get 4-player going on 2 different PS5s, and that's just gonna be
okay.
hilarious. So if you guys have never played an Earth Defense Force game, man, those games are
All
insane.
right, I clicked on Steam and I'm
Hmm.
looking at some of the pictures. We're not going
Yes.
like high fidelity here.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. This feels like
Mhm,
trying to pick the right generation that this would come from. Maybe a PS3 look,
mhm,
kinda.
Yeah. I think
Probably
it's being a
about
little
my.
generous.
mhm.
I mean, maybe I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not always so good at like looking back on game detail level, but
Yeah.
yeah, yes, it's been a couple generations I think since some of the stuff I've
Yes.
played has looked like that.
Just to put it this way, like, in the game, you play a soldier fighting an army of ants, and then also sometimes robots, and then also frogs. Apparently, didn't that just added that frogs with guns,
Frogs are the new
and
enemy type.
the dialogue is so atrocious, and the frame rate doesn't stay stable, and it's horrifying. And
Damn.
I always have fun with it. I think the last um EDF I reviewed, I gave like an 8 out of 10, and my review was like all just like, I don't know why this game is so much fun, but it is, and that's really when it comes down to it. That's what matters, right?
I mean, if you're
Yeah,
having a good
It's a
time,
fun
it's kind
thing.
of hard
that's
to
it. That's
like
it.
call somebody out if you're having a good time. But yeah,
Hmm.
I was
Yeah.
wondering why IGN would be reviewing something like that I've never heard of, but maybe it's just an ongoing tradition now as you're on number 6.
Oh, if you have never heard of it, I think you're an outlier, because it's like it's a classic. Like, people
Okay.
know about the yeah.
Well,
It's a
now
good
it is
game.
on my radar. I will have to
Yeah.
see what it
I
does.
mean, yeah. Like, I'm not saying you have to become a super fan. I kind of was for a while. Like, I used to play a ton of the game, but um, you should at least try it. It's surprising how good it is.
Earth
So
Defense Force is decently popular. There we go. See, this is, you know,
yeah,
sometimes I'm just living under a rock in the world of gaming.
You
yeah.
good?
The
You miss
first
some
one I played
sometimes.
was called EDF 2017.
Hmm.
Which,
Oh,
by the way, this game also takes place in the past, which is just so funny to me. It's like the year is 2022, and you're like, "What? That
You're like,
already
oh,
happened, bro."
because back
It's
then,
like a
like,
science
yeah,
fiction game that takes place like a couple years ago. Not even like the distance past. It's like kind of recent. It's
it's
just very funny.
hilarious. I love that.
Um, but yeah,
Mhm.
so yeah, the series has been going on for a long time. Sometimes they get like the ones I don't like. There's a few EDFs I'm not a huge fan of, and they're the ones where they almost like tried to make it better. Like they made the game look a little better. They tried to add like actual mechanics to make the game play good, and then it just kind of ruins it because it's sort of like taking your favorite like campy, cheesy horror series and like throwing a higher budget on it, and then all of a sudden you're like, the
Mhm.
magic is gone. And it seems like in this one they've definitely gone back to the roots of just
Mm,
like games that look like they cost $12 to make. So
okay.
pretty cool.
well, I
See?
think that probably catches us up on what we have been doing.
Mhm, mhm.
What about our world of Destiny? How much have you guys been playing, jumping into? Did you get to experience everything that has Act 2 has to offer so far? The massive content dump that we got for Act 2 week 1?
Massive. Yeah, I coulda.
Sorry, am I leading the witness there?
Yeah, look, you coulda. Look, this is my feeling. So we were debuted, was it Battlegrounds, right?
Mhm.
The new
We got
activity,
2. Yeah.
We got two. We got two. We got the first one, story one, and then we got the second one. I'm a big fan of the second one. I think I think it's called Conduit, the one where you go deeper, but
It's like the
it's all
bigger it's like the longer sections where you're
yeah,
kinda
the
going
long with a
down the
lot
big
of
long ramps.
diagonals, a lot
Yeah.
of radiolarium. I like the wideness of the actual map. The enemy density is really good. I always feel like, even though I have my complaints with the Vex they don't have a central, you know, until now it looks like the conductor might be the
Story-wise,
central figure.
yeah, they haven't had a
Yeah,
central figure. Combat-wise, their crit spots all suck.
Yeah, they all suck. Like
They're like an
with
annoying enemy to
wyverns,
fight. All of
yeah,
them.
they're very thing. But I always like the aesthetic of their bases, so to
Yeah.
speak. Right? When you like, it reminds
Like
me of Vault.
IO had a
Yeah,
good architecture. Yeah.
exactly. I think that's why I'm like, damn, this is the reason why I be liking Vaulted Glass. It's something about the architecture of the Vex when you're going deeper into Nessus and all that other stuff. So look, we move the story along. Obviously, I am curious as hell to see where they go with this Osiris and Saint angle. And I really like it. I do like the fact that they're challenging him. Like, you sure you pulled the right Osiris? Like I mean, you pulled the right Saint Osiris? Like, I like that angle. Like, are you really you? Which timeline has he been pulled from? And I think it was one of the better, somebody said it was a Discord message, but it was kind of like you go to the terminal and you hearing this conversation, and it's like, yo, when we first met on the 15th, how did it go down kind of energy? Like, when you first told me you love me type thing. And Osiris is first like, yo, it doesn't matter. Like, why? And then he finally gets Osiris to say it. And then he's like, nah, bro, it didn't go down like that for me. This is what happened. You said it this way. And so now he's really disheveled. This confident character that we used to, being who he's like, yo, I feel like I'm a copy. Like, the conductor's either manipulating, or I'm curious if they go this way. I doubt it, but if this ain't the real Saint and what they do with that. So I think it's a fun angle. Now, as far as everything else, this activity is repetitive as hell. Like, we have to do it way too many times. That's my first thing. And weapon gating feels bad. Like, we all know, damn it, we here for this sidearm. We know the mission.
Yes.
We know
Yes,
the
we
mission.
are.
The call told us what the mission was. We need the solar version of this, heel clip incandescent, or whatever combination you want. And they knew we wanted it. And they said, you ain't focusing nothing. And they said,
At least not till next week.
You're going to do this damn activity 30 times. My other beef, that damn NES sample. Why do I have to keep running for the chest to get the open? The chest percentage is so low. Then they like, okay, you finished doing that 12 times? Now go in the breach
I'm
protocol.
trying to remember, because I literally walked through. No, I was like, I did it. And like the last section where I thought it was going to be the powerfuls and the energy, I did that in one breach executable, I think. But I'm trying to remember what took the multiple runs, because I thought something did, but I was trying to remember what part.
It was basically get the material, but it says,
oh no, you had to open the chest in the helm.
Open the chest you had to open the chest at the end of it. It was only counting for the new arena stuff. If you did it in the story one, it wasn't counting. But if you did it in the actual node, then it was. And the chest percentage is like, wasn't the greatest. I'll just be honest.
Now, which activity were you doing? The battleground or breach executable?
Battleground was the only thing that worked for it to open.
Okay.
Chest anywhere else do not count. That was the mistake.
What I did was,
what you did.
I did breach executable because the description read opening chests in the helm. The only chest you open in the helm is after you finish breach executable, you go back and you're in that little helm pod and you can deposit and open the single chest.
Were you
I
getting
did
credit?
that and I got 44%, so I did it 3 times.
Wow.
Now, the thing that's annoying is I know somebody in Discord that did the expert version of that, where there's like 4 chests in there. Only the one chest counted.
Wow.
And that's the other side of the annoying thing is like, if you're like, hey, let me do the thing that requires a little bit more effort, but Bungie's not gonna reward you at all for opening these other chests, even if it wasn't like the full 44%.
Right.
If I'm gonna put in the higher effort, reward the person, especially if the chest's all qualified to your description. Right. Give me something for doing that stuff. So yeah, it was like 44 and then 89%. So it was like 44.5% for the one chest I opened. It was the weirdest number.
It's very strange.
Percent? How many times did you have to run the battlegrounds?
I honestly probably had to run it about 5 times.
So you were getting like 20% a run?
It was pretty low. If not 5,
and
4,
that was just like the final chest reward kind of thing.
Yes, that's all that was giving me the credit. And it was just, and that, you got to remember, the battlegrounds activity is, it's lengthy. It's not. Those are not quick. Like, you're gonna be in there for 20, 30 minutes, whatever. And that was my only issue. Now, the other positive I do want to say that I have to give them credit is I like the new artifact. I like the sniper.
Well,
The
yeah, it's
solar.
sniper god mode. Like, how do you
Yeah,
not like it? Just snipers cranked
yeah.
up to 11.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute, and to have either heavy sniper, obviously Whisper the Worm's eating right here. If you're using a call, that's eating right here. But snipers in general with that new stack. It feels good. It gave me some old school vibe and anti-barrier sniper,
Yeah.
which is really fun. So it felt good to play snipers again, that kind of thing. But other than that, yeah, look, here's what it is. We're gonna see where they're going with this conductor thing. But I just don't like. My main issue right now is I love where the story's going, even though they're drip feeding us. I just hate how much repetitiveness of the activity to advance certain things. I don't even mind the little botany stuff when they like hit the thing and go get the little plants. And I don't even mind that. It's just how many times I got to do the damn activity. That's my thing. That's where I'm at.
Travis,
Mhm.
how you doing?
I feel like this whole season could have been an email.
I mean, we were talking in Discord like Tuesday a little bit, and I was kind of going off a little bit saying something similar. Pretty much, I feel like so far, we know there's a collective thing to worry about. That's it. But that was told to us as the thing landed, and there seemed to be some kind of threat on Nessus. So in 4 weeks of story, 7 weeks now of game time, in game, we still don't know basically anything.
We know that the conductor is a thing.
A thing. Yes, we have a
Conductor's
name of a
conducting.
thing.
Conductor's
Yeah.
conducting.
That's
And unless you're
specific.
reading deep into the lore, you don't know anything more,
Right.
True.
which is not particularly satisfying for normal players, especially when the thing that you're having to do to get these snippets of not story are the same activity over and over again that makes you hate Destiny all over again.
Star Chores, as you've so
Just
eloquently said.
got done liking Destiny again, and then they straight back to the Star Chores. Get back in the mines. Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Dr. Jones.
Oh.
Dr. Jones.
Oh, what?
No.
What happened? What happened?
You just do
Uh-oh.
like a whipping sound I heard in the
Oh,
background?
yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
heard some news,
You're in
bro.
the
Bro, you
mine.
said,
Yeah, I was
something-
like, oh, that escalated quickly. That's all I mean.
We're in the mines. We're getting whipped.
Get back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. And that's the thing with the episodic model right now, right? And we're still act away from the actual where they give us the season binge mode. We're still, because technically this ain't it just yet. Like we gotta wait one more, right, before we get
August 27th, you will get Act 3 in 3
Yes.
weeks, and then in episode 2, which is October. I did the date once. I forget what it is. Yeah, that's when supposedly Act 1 should drop all at once, and then Act 2 will drop all at once. I mean, you could be done with Destiny on week 1, and then have 5 weeks off, as opposed to,
Mhm.
you know, spread it
Yep.
out a bit.
Yes,
Yeah, no,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
I'm kind of with you
So how's
guys.
the player count doing?
Yeah.
I
talk
mean,
about that.
as I literally just pulled up the Steam charts, the peak of player count in Final Shape peaked at like 314. It was
Wow.
honestly, if server issues weren't there, they would have cracked their all-time of all time. At least for Steam. And granted, I don't know what consoles are doing because we never do. Since then, it has been trickling down.
Mm-hmm.
For July, it was at about 95,000. Tuesday, I'm sorry. Tuesday, it was up at 101 for the new act. And then now we're down to 61,000, which is not a bad number. Believe me, any live service game would be ecstatic to have that. Granted, this is a new act, and you would hope the acts are these influxes of players. First Descendant, 130,000 players. Once Human, 187,000 players. Apex, 102,000. I don't know why Naraka Blade Point occasionally pops up on these lists. And then
I told people that game is good, man. I love that game. Game's great.
But it won't be on there, and then all of a sudden it's like on 4th, and then it's down. So it's like
Yeah.
there's some weird stuff going on with like
They do content
Yeah.
drops. They do big drop. They had a recent big drop.
So to say the least, there's been a drop off, and then if you go check Twitter, which is an echo chamber in and of itself, so you can take all of this with a grain of salt.
Saw some
There were
tweets.
some tweets that people are not thrilled with the episodic model, calling it
Mhm.
basically renamed seasons, filler. Glad was not happy. He pretty much just
Mhm.
said he wants a new game, calling for
Mhm.
D3.
I saw that.
Um, yeah, the vibes on the episodes so far not hidden for quite a few. I mean, I even saw, I can't remember which creator it was just like, well, day 2 of Act 2 and nothing to do. Another creator that I know, I like hung out with him in person for a little bit and we had him on previously. He was just like, I'm not
Mhm.
really feeling a whole lot of content for Destiny right now to make. And everybody's got different variations of what they're doing. But I'm even watching creators that are putting out some content, but I feel like the ideas are stretched a little thin, you could say,
Right,
on
you can
what
tell they
to
being
do.
creative.
Yeah, they're being creative,
Yeah,
which I mean, hats off to the creators doing that because the good ones can
abs
make it work still. But
absolutely.
just what the content is covering
Mhm.
shows the kind of the state of things as well. How creative you
Yeah.
are. I mean, it's like you got God roll weapon content. You've got how are the new artifact perks. So far, not a whole lot. And that's kind of the thing. We got 2 basically strikes. They're battlegrounds, but they're strikes.
Yeah.
Maybe a year from now, they're going to be in the Vanguard rotator, or maybe in the next episode, since they're longer, they might dump in there. I don't know how the
Mhm.
helm and everything's going to be organized. Because theoretically, you should be able to access this stuff for a while. Like they
Mhm.
said, you're going to be able to jump back into episode 1 if you want to later on and go experience it as kind of a separate story. So I don't
Mhm.
know if these battlegrounds are even going to go into the Nightfalls and the Vanguard playlist rotation
Right.
for a while, but they are in essence strikes. And
Mhm.
it's one of those things we ask for more strikes occasionally as
Mhm.
players. We're like, oh, we need more strikes. We need more strikes. But then when they give us 2 of them and people don't really give a crap, that kind of tells you like what is the longevity to a strike. Now, if this was going into Grandmaster Nightfalls or something else for Act 2, people would be like, okay, these have a little bit more, reason to play. And maybe they had a specific weapon that dropped with each one. So when this popped up, you're like, hey, I'm going to go after the exclusive weapon in here. Maybe there would be a bit more of a tie, but we basically got 2 strikes that have no connection to anything else.
Mhm.
And unless you're just going to go repeatedly play the strikes, you're not going to engage with them any probably more than you need to either grind out engrams or grind out weapon drops, and then you're kind of good. So it's it's not like we got a small amount of content. We got 2 strikes. I think as Tassie said, it was like we got a decent amount of geometry. Like there
Right.
are new level areas that we're experiencing in the new Nessus palette of
Mhm.
greenery and all of that type of stuff that they're doing. It's more you are still generally running a strike. There's not like a
Yeah.
unique activity here. It is point A to point B, finish a boss at the end. We got mechanics. But
Mhm.
it's like if you do breach executables, you're just running around Nexus and then fighting bosses. These are
Right.
going through a strike and doing bosses. And it
Yeah.
feels bad to say that about a strike because we ask for these kind of things and
Mhm.
new strikes are supposed to be kind of cool, but they just don't feel like they're hitting that way for some reason.
I like the second one. I won't push back on this. I really like the second one. The first one I
Who are
don't
you
like as
fighting at
much.
the end of the one that you
The
like?
one where you got the 2 mechanics where one guardian has to get on the plate, kill the anti-barrier, the other get on the plate, kill the anti-barrier. There's a
And then the
Vex-like
boxes
almost
on the back wall.
boxes on the back,
Okay.
shoot the boxes, then he I love that fight. I love that whole board. I like
I saw
the descent. Yeah.
I saw a tweet. Somebody was like, "Can you please fix the tracking on the new Titan Super?" So they went to go throw 1x, and it's when he's standing between the 2 bubbles.
With the bubbles, yeah,
He
yeah.
threw 1x and it hit him. The second one like veered left and then bounced off the bubble. And the other one just goes like off to the right. And I was like, I don't know what's happened to these axes, but yeah, Titan's definitely not OP. Don't worry about us.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
you're going through it right now. Mhm.
So
But yeah,
that's
that one
but yeah,
that
that
one
I mean that one was
mhm.
interesting. But again, if you run it over and over, you are still
Right,
going to get like
which is
tired
the
of it.
issue, which is the issue.
So if like we're getting new activities, but they are just strikes, should we complain as players that we're getting new strikes? But then if you have to repeat the activity as a player, it doesn't feel wonderful to do it over and over and over and over. And
Yeah.
that's like a weird like thing to kind of figure out in my head because part of me is like, we got a couple of strikes for an act and we're gonna get one more. That's not a
Mhm.
bad piece of content to get, but on the other
Right.
side, it doesn't really change a whole lot.
Yeah, it's variety but more importantly, it's repetition. The strikes in themselves,
Yeah.
for the most part, are okay. But when in order to advance the quest line to get the next story beat, and they're telling you got to run it at minimum 4 or 5 times, then it's like, okay, I hate this strike now, or I hate this like because and remember these are time consuming, like they're not. Because they're a little longer than a strike, right? They're like 10 minutes, more than 10 minutes. They can run about 30 minutes kind of thing. So that's the problem. And I guess the question I have is that I don't know how they fix the non-expansion loop problem.
Yeah.
And this has been going on from the beginning of Destiny, right? Because at one point it was only expansions. And then the thought process was like, this is great, but why do I have to wait? I have nothing to do. I want to live in the game. I have nothing to do, right? Then they said, okay, great. You want to live in it? This is what we're doing. Tune in next week. This, that, and the third. And it went away for a little bit. It went good for a little bit. But then after a while, people were like, you're time gating me, bro. Like, this doesn't feel good. Now, I will admit, this is the most egregious version of time gating I have seen from them. This is the drippiest of drip feed. This is we are not allowing you to advance anything, and it doesn't feel good. So they've got a decision to make. And that's why I'm very curious about Frontiers and all this other stuff, because I mean, there's a part of me that's like, it's okay now. Remember, we used to have this debate back in the day, like, it's okay to miss it and do just final shape stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then go away. You have this, meaty content drop, tons of stuff to do. But I don't know if it's the business side that works for them, and that's why they're forcing this, trying to make you stay engaged by, time gaining content. It's tough. It's tough. So I'm curious what you guys think about that. Like, my curious, like, how do they solve the problem? Is my question for you guys.
Travis, I know we were bouncing as you were trying to figure out some camera stuff.
Yeah, sorry, my camera keeps breaking. Elgato as a company should burn to the ground.
I disagree, but
yeah,
that's just based on experience, so that's fair.
Brought to you by last word brought to you by
I was like, half my setup is like all this stuff, and it always works fine for me. But yes, my setup is permanent, so there's a difference in that. I will always give you that.
This, I think these parts are made in China, or I don't know. Everything breaks immediately as soon as you touch it. Anyway,
I've been using the same green screen for I looked it up. I was thinking about the new green screen. I think my green screen is 6 years old.
Yeah, but you don't move your green screen.
I do actually more often than you think.
Yeah, try picking it up with the handle and watch how quickly the handle comes off. Dude, it's the cheapest material I've ever seen. It's
like I literally close the class, put the little things on it, rotate the thing, pick it up by the handle, and wedge it by that wall. At least every other week, if not probably weekly. Like, I do it pretty often, and I don't know if you
pick it up and don't leave the room. Okay.
I've walked that thing out into my living room and stuff like that. I don't know if you're just swinging this thing around or something.
No, I pick it up and I move it multiple times a week, not just put it against a wall, but move it room to room. And within 2 weeks of doing that, it broke because it's made of the
I would actually be very curious for you, because they did a remodel, and it's the reason I want the newer one. One, it's a little bit wider, so it kind of covers some of the gaps, but it's actually 7 pounds lighter. So I feel like they refined the whole process to make it lighter and wider. So it's I want to try the new one at some point.
I'm on their third or fourth backlight, all of which break within.
Damn, you got problems with the backlight?
What breaks?
Yep, backlight sucks. The camera sucks. The screen sucks. Yeah, Elgato as a company could burn. They do the
Travis's opinions do not reflect the Last Word podcast opinions of Elgato as a whole.
Well, they're bought and paid for, keep in mind. But you should listen to my opinion. But
what paid for you?
Look,
I'm speaking from my experience, and you're speaking from yours. They're just very different experiences, and that's fair.
The game capture devices are great. They should keep doing that and nothing else. Anyway, what was I talking about?
Besides ranting on Elgato,
your experience of
traveling person.
Do seasons in the episodic model? How does Bungie go about trying to
fix this? Yeah.
Can they make the player base happy?
Yes,
probably no.
So my experience covering the live service beat is that you really only have 2 options if you're going to do a live service game. If you're going to do the forever model, you either need to double, triple down on your team, make it much bigger so that you can create enough content to keep feeding the beast eternally. right?
Mhm.
You see some companies do that where they just like ramp up
To
and they
like
make so much
Fortnite or
content that
MiHoYo, that kind of thing, where they're just like
yeah,
massive.
yeah, Genshin Impact does a pretty good job with it, and their teams are so big that they can actually meet the demand that players have. That requires, support from whoever's funding you, and it requires your team having the capacity and the desire, frankly, to scale at that level, which some teams don't want to get that big for this reason or another. And then yeah, that can be a hard path. Or in the same kind of vein of like feeding the beast is you can create content that is infinitely replayable, and I would actually put Fortnite in that one, right? Where their content is pretty strong, but they also have a much lower bar to clear because their
Mhm.
content is so replayable that they don't really need to do a ton.
Uh-huh.
And there are lots of games that take that approach, and that can help a lot. I would say Destiny at one point in time was kind of in the middle of those two strategies where they had a lot of content and a bigger team, but they also had their PvP was in a really good place where it was becoming replayable. The
Mhm.
other option is the Final Fantasy 14 approach, which is you make the content really good, but you tell your fans and set the expectation that it's going to take as long as it takes, and that they shouldn't, frankly, expect to play your game every single day because
Mhm.
it's not a healthy way to consume your content, and your team is not going to be able to meet that demand. And I don't think either of those strategies is bad, right? You can see Final
Mhm.
Fantasy 14 is a huge success, and people simply just play it less when there's not that much content, and people are okay with that, and the creators of the game are okay with that, and are in fact encouraging the players to
Yeah.
log off and take a break. And I think that that can make players have a more healthy relationship with your game because distance makes the heart grow fonder and all that. And also, they're not playing the game when it's mid, right? We're
Mhm.
in a situation now where if you're a real Destiny fan, you've got to play the game even when it's bad, and it's bad most of the time if you look at just like the timeline of the year, because there's lots of seasons in dead space. And then when it's good, you're like, oh man, I wish Destiny felt like this all the time, and it's probably not realistic. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, they either need to ramp up their content model, or fix PvP, or do something that would actually make Destiny feel good for longer,
Mhm.
or they need to be okay with people not playing their game and build their business around that. And I think both of those models can work. It's really just about like, what do you want to do? But I think we're just right now in a really bad middle ground where they kind of want you to play forever,
Mhm.
but they don't really have the content, or haven't really doubled down on trying to make that a even possible. Because right now,
What
I would say it's pretty hard to keep playing the game and not hate it.
what do you take from them responding to the immediate feedback of the time gating not feeling good, and then saying they're going to use this as an experiment by letting us binge it for the next act or what have you? Like, what do you internalize from them by moving this way?
I mean, I think that's just good, a good thing to do, right? They're responding to player feedback. I think the problem is that fans were probably expecting, oh, well, once they take the time gates out, it'll feel good.
Mhm.
And it turns out that mid content consumed all at once is pretty much as bad as mid content consumed week by week. So I think that they still have the content problem of like,
Mhm.
look, if there was a big gap and then they released the season all at once, or the sorry, the act, what is it called? The chap
The episodes.
you know, episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Season, episode, act, yeah.
Act,
Yeah.
chapter.
If they released the episode all at once and they took longer to make it, and it was like good,
Mhm.
right? It was better content. I think people wouldn't really be complaining too much about like the gap, right? But the
Mm.
fact that it came out real quick and it's like, oh, we're just gonna keep you playing, and then the people who are playing it are kind of like, I don't really like this. Um, it's just a tough position, man. Making live service games is damn hard.
Tough. It's tough. It's really tough. That's why I probably empathize, because I'm like, you have to commit to creating engaging like content like Final Shape all the time. And from a resource standpoint, I just don't know how they balance that. What do you think? E? Like, what you think is the answer for them? During the seasonal slash episode times of Destiny.
I mean, I think Travis is kind of on one point, which we've all probably agreed to somewhere in our life of playing Destiny. You ever take a break playing Destiny? Try some other things, check out some games you missed, work on your backlog, and you come back and you pick up that weapon and you shoot like a fallen in the head. You're like, oh, that feels good again. because you're not doing it every single day over and over just to try and do certain things. So I am kind of curious when we get to episode 2, how the 6-week like influx 5-week break, because in that first week you're probably going to be able to knock out whatever the story has to offer, and work on grinding your guns that first couple of days if you go hard, that first week if you spread it out a little bit. If you don't go grinding for every single pattern and stuff like that, the story will be digestible in a day or two for even a casual player. It's not going to take you too long. And then if you want to step off and go play 2 other things and come back for the next episode, that's probably okay. I think that will be a little less of the tedium of come back next week for, your next battleground kind of. It's when you look at it and it says, hey, here's Act 1, wait until, 6 days and 23 hours later, after I've done the first hour of content for Act 2, wait for, almost 7 days and 20 and all those hours to get to when Failsafe is finally ready to give it to you. It's like, it will be nice not to have that feeling, which is just when I started to see that in screen, I lost a little bit of my soul, I think. When I was the first time I read it's like, come back next, and it's like, oh.
Failsafe is analyzing the data.
Yeah. It takes her approximately 6 days and 22 hours to analyze this data.
There's nothing in the twit. In case
I know, I
wondering.
looked. It was what they're doing at GCX, and TWAB is very light. That's pretty mild. It's weird. I mean, I've played World of Warcraft. It's got the similar model to Final Fantasy 14. Big expansion, a lot of content, and they'll put different scales of difficulty in there. So like the hardcores can go hardcore a lot, and like really grind out the minutia and min-maxing and stuff like that. I think that's a hard thing that works for games like those. And as I'm sitting here playing random stuff like First Descent and even 2, when it comes to min-maxing,
How'd you like that, by the way?
it is. I've got like, I don't know, 80 hours, 90 hours, 100 hours in it. Somewhere in there. I haven't looked at my clock in a little while. I've got a lot of hours in it. Certain things about it work. Certain things are extremely grindy, as I know you mentioned in your preview. And it is to a point, but review, sorry, in your review.
Yeah.
The 5, I understand. But I will also say for somebody who hasn't touched much of like the looter shooter genre, to not pay a dime. And then if you are one of those people that it's like the grinds are almost cathartic. Some people, like, I feel like my brother's almost one of those where if you give him something to grind for that he can just do, he will do it. And then eventually if that drop happens, you get a little bit of that like, kind of slot machine jackpot feel. And some of those drop rates are extremely low. I was just trying to unlock Freyna. I think she was the first toxic one you can get by doing some of the reasonable grinds. And I had to redo the patrol or the escort. And it was like a 10-minute thing that I had to. God, I hated that one a lot. And it's like those are annoying, but then there's some you can grind out, and it's like a 3-minute like defense, pop the guy, go run, do it again. And I did the like 2 or 3 times, I
did that strike for Freyna. That strike. That
I must have had that part already because I didn't have to do that for her. That's the only one I didn't have to do.
Has 2 shielded bosses that like are time shielded that take a long time to take down. I had to do that 50 times.
5-0?
5-0, and it says it has a 20% drop rate.
See, okay, I didn't have anything hit me that bad yet, but I've heard people like and you get to some of the end game, and that's where I think something like Once Human versus First Descendant, both being free, but both being very different. First Descendant, if you get through the campaign and then you look at what the end game grinds look like for the energy activators and stuff like that, that's where I think some people are going to be like, yeah, I'm probably not putting all of that in there. So I think like for a free-to-play campaign, it's fine. I enjoy the classes, the abilities, the shooting has a nice little crunchy tactile feel to it. But it's like when you put a 5 on it, I'm like 5 and 6, like right now. Yeah, it's like I don't blame you on that one. I don't. But also I can see somebody who's like, I just want to grind and shoot some stuff and it doesn't cost me a penny. And I think the fact that it's on console gives it more legs than other ones. It's one of those that it kind of works. But yeah, when you get down to min-maxing. But anyway, back to my train of thought. Decent game, but I totally understand your 5 because there's plenty of things wrong with it and the voices and I got you. I understand. As soon as I saw your score, I was like, yep, that makes sense from Travis's eye. That's about right.
I'm also not one of those people who enjoys grinding.
Oh no, I mean there's some of the stuff that like I've been kind of playing more Once Human because at least that's like survival, crafting, the progression's a little bit longer, and you'll get to some probably free to play dice rolling at the end of that one, but at least it's like a whole bunch of weird and if I just want to sit there and build my house for a survival crafting, I can do that for a little while. Or if I want to go out and then take on the next like realm of areas and I can do that. I think that will give people more variety. And that's actually why I think the concurrent on PC, once humans now above First Ascendant, because First Ascendant people may have played out, and I think that one's going to taper a little bit because of the way that in-game grind. And if you want a skin, it's like $50. It's like, no. So I get those. But when you compare like World of Warcraft and you go like, hey, I'm going to do the normal raid and I get this gear, and then I'm going to do the higher level raid, and then you start really min-maxing, but then everybody's really starting to come up as a group or a clan, or even if you're doing higher level strikes or dungeons that you were doing, the min-maxing is something in those games because the numbers do generally get to go up. When we're min-maxing in Destiny, if you just have a build, your build works or it kind of doesn't. Certain perks can make you a little bit better, but a lot of people joke that builds are not overly that important. So when it comes to an influx of content coming out and then going for like the grind, once you hit power level like Pinnacle 2000, and then if just trying to get the gun with the right weapon, and then if you can find a build that makes things synergized, but it's not giving you like hard mode doesn't give you a little bit extra power and give you a little more min-maxing or nuancing. Not as much comes from that anymore. And I think that's where like the influx of content for something like Destiny gets to be a little harder, because if you get a big World of Warcraft expansion, go through normal, go through the second difficulty, go through the mythic dungeons, and you're incrementally going, but for the hardcore, there is something to strive for. The hardcores can knock stuff out in our influxes of content right now in a day. And I think that's where it gets harder for Destiny to give the hardcores anything to really shoot for, because it's just a different style of game. And I think that's where it gets harder, as Travis said, to make enough content to satisfy mostly anybody who wants to spend a lot of time in this without it getting repetitive. Because I mean, yeah, you can do Grandmaster Nightfalls, but then when you understand those, you're just getting more golf balls or more weapon rolls or more engrams, but you're still looking at the same stuff and you're not changing your character that much. That's, I think, where the difference comes to play, where the RPG is always kind of, it's there, but it's not completely there for Destiny.
I think honestly, it's a combination.
Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer.
You're in your bag. No, look, I think it's a combination of a 10-year plus game and the natural fatigue that comes with that, in conjunction with, we have to be honest, we represent, I think Reginald kind of said it best, like that 10/5% crowd that's going to be able to consume this content and do that difficult content fairly easier because of our experience. And a lot of the newer players, they will struggle to get through that stuff at the speed we do. So they have the constant problem of trying to have to balance for a casual base in conjunction with satiating their core, which kind of keeps the game alive and keeps awareness. And I don't envy that. There's a part of me that does miss, the final shape level, Witch Queen level expansions, and then you get all that content, you get maybe a couple of mini story beats afterwards, and then you dip and then you kind of come back. There is a part of me that's always missed that. And I remember saying that before. But yeah, living into it, doing a living game now, and the financials involved with that, that's what I think is playing a factor here. I don't think they can afford to go away.
I mean, that's the other piece of it too.
Yeah, I think it's idealistic to say, yeah, go play. We gave you this. We want you to go touch other games. That sounds nice, but we got this light bill though. We got these salaries though. We got this content that we spent, and I think that's the part of juggling a live service game. They've been able to do it for this long, but I think. Look, I'm just going to be honest. This is what I think. I think they know damn well when they initiate a lot of these practices with time game stuff.
They know what they're doing. Yes, of course they do.
What they doing? There's no surprise.
There are analytics, there are financial decisions.
We're so surprised you don't like this.
Oh yeah, right? There's so many things driving what they're doing that we don't have access to.
Developers have come out in the past and literally said, the player base ain't going to like this. The stakeholders are looking at engagement and things otherwise, and the monetization aspect. And I think that's the battle with Destiny in turn. Like that's what I think. Developers want to serve the player base.
Metrics versus fun.
There we go. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what's always the joke. And it's impressive they've been able to be one of the few live service games to go through this weird balancing act for years and still be able, for the most part, to keep their base. It's a difficult thing. I do not envy them. Live service is tough, man. New stuff comes out every day, B. Y'all talk about this First Descendant thing. Y'all talk about all these. Every time is a new joint out here, stealing away from the base. So yeah, like I said, I'm the guy that has a little bit empathy with this type of situation, because I'll be honest. And then here's the other thing I want to say this on the record. They don't get enough credit for creating content, though. Like, even these stupid little battlegrounds and whatever. Every year you creating new
No,
stuff for this
that's
base that blazes out and says, "Yo, we're not done. We're done with this. Is whack. We need more." Like, that's hard.
no,
Video game making is difficult.
they have been very
Yeah.
consistent to, like, even in the past couple of years, seasons have had better activities with the deep, and then they're experimenting with styles and all of those types of
Mhm.
ideas. It's the way you can have a fun idea,
Mhm.
but if it's like, I feel like many times, like, these are strikes. These are basically strikes.
Yeah,
And
glorified big
they've,
boy strikes. Mhm.
not even big boy,
Yeah.
really.
I'm
They
just talking about as far as like density,
they didn't even
size.
feel that crazy to me, I guess. They
Okay.
didn't
Fair enough.
feel, I mean, even so, but it's also, we've had the test of, hey, here's a card system that we had in Season of the Witch and how that
Right.
can kind of play into runs. We had Season of the Deep with the little mini
Mhm.
roguelike, and then we had the little bit more of like rolling and trying to get. So they have a little bit more mechanic stuff that they've tried, but we always kind of get like the beta test of these things. And I know development's not an easy thing to do. So if we get a couple of strikes, maybe it's less mechanic heavy, but there's more geometry to build. So I don't know what's easier to build and what isn't. That's a question for a
Mhm.
developer, of course. But it's also, as Travis will say sometimes, it is just star choice. It is running
Yeah,
a
of
strike and
course.
shooting guys in the head, and whether it's not much of a challenge mentally or you just run the same thing. And that's kind of thing right now. What did we get on Tuesday? We got
Mhm.
2 strikes that you're going to shoot stuff. There's not many mechanics. You mentioned the boss that has some little ones, but you're just going
Mhm.
to like repeat strikes over and over. So it's like I could have the same experience if they just said, go run the Vanguard playlist and build up some engrams, but you can cast the
Right.
Vanguard engrams in here. I would have a
Right.
very similar experience to what I'm having
Mhm.
running the battlegrounds, but now I just get to play 2 of them over and over and over and over and over with
Right.
less variability, as
Right.
opposed to, hey, we put these battlegrounds into the rotation. If you want to go play some strikes, you could see these in
Mhm.
rotation, but these will count too. Otherwise, you
Mhm.
can play these over and over. But either way, right now, maybe Vanguard strikes are also dropping weapons for this season. Stuff like that would even give you a chance to mix up how you do stuff. And
But then
it's just,
people gonna say we running the same strikes, B. You have
no,
us
I
do
know.
the
And you
same
can
thing
go
again,
run the new
B.
stuff if you want to. But if you want to go
Mhm.
run other stuff, you can also get the seasonal things. Sometimes I feel like they want you so focused in the helm director's
Right.
screen
I got what you're saying.
that they don't allow a little bit of variety that could happen. I mean, we have all these
Mhm.
like, patrol planets that I feel like they could crank the difficulty up on and have fun with some stuff in there, but I know that's probably like old code and changing. But even just like, hey, go through the battlegrounds of the Vanguard playlist. Hey, you want to do the Vanguard playlist? You might see those in there too. But right
Mhm.
now, for this act or this episode, the Vanguard playlist also will sometimes drop seasonal weapons. And seasonals are just so confined to their stuff. If they
Mhm.
spread out where those things could drop, like they don't drop as world drops, they don't drop from Vanguard anything. They don't drop anywhere else, so just your chances at other stuff feel limited. So then you really do
Speaking of
repeat it
which,
until you hate it.
exotic class items.
Well, that's a
That's
whole
my beef.
that's a
That's my
thing.
beef right now. Yeah, the sourcing there. But no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And then the ultimate thing comes down to kind of what Travis said earlier, which is the only way you solve that is you gonna have to completely invest in hiring more people to develop the substantial content like a final shape, but that kind of stuff that is needed. And I don't know the finances of these. What is it? I don't know, the $1 billion company. I don't know how much is Bungie's worth these days, but I don't know how that works numbers wise. That's my concern. I think we have to be realistic that even though yes, I want better. I'm not saying yo, I don't want better. No, I want better. But I have to be realistic. How can they do that and satiate it
There's an
and be
easy way.
profitable? What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Easy way to do better is to just do less. That's what we've learned from Bungie over years is like if you give them more time to cook
Right.
and players just take a little bit of a break and they come back and the content's good, then they come back and Bungie is successful and makes money. And so,
Mm.
if to your point, if you think the economics don't make sense for them to scale up and make
Mhm.
more content, we just learned via Act 2 of this episode that more mid content doesn't feel better than time gated drip fed mid content. And so I say take longer breaks, make the
Mhm.
content better with the staff that you have,
Mhm.
and be okay with players not playing, and they will like your game more, and you'll probably make more money
Mhm.
because they won't be.
Here's my pushback though, and
Probably
I
make more
get what you're
money is
saying with
probably where
better.
there's an analytics person that
That's the
says,
way the analytics guys
and
that not going to listen to
that's
you.
the thing we will never know as
Yeah.
players. But as like, there has to always be a balance between the analytics and the fun, because the fun gets too bad, those analytics are going to suffer too. And
And we
as you
got to
said, they've
remember
I don't
banned.
think I don't think Bungie knows or has like data on this. I really don't.
D1. That's what I was about to say. D1 is the data because D1 is literally the opposite of what we're doing now. D1 would be we would get the substantial drop and then nothing for a long time. And the base was irate. We want more content. Why is it taking so long? That's what I'm saying. Like literally, we've role reversed from D1 to D2. The spaces between Taken King and big expansions. That's what D1 was. And
I
then they
think
said, okay, we're gonna satiate you guys. We're gonna give you this new model, and that's when it started. So it's a
I
tough
think this
balance,
is
D1
bro.
one of those
D1
times.
was a very, very different game.
It's also a
D1
very different
was
landscape for gaming, I think.
It was a
Mhm.
different landscape for gaming. It was pre-alpha and omega seasonal content teams. It was just they had a whole different business model in a different landscape. So I think Bungie is operating under the assumption of like what we have now seems to be mostly working for us. If we changed it, it could be worse, right? They're
Yeah,
they're acting out of like fear rather than like
I
leading on
agree.
the issue.
I
But I
agree.
think if they have to make a decision, right? Because I don't
Right.
think the solution is keep making your players annually hate your game for
Mhm.
9 months of the year and then release content that's really good and then they love you again and then
Right.
the cycle begins again. Maybe
Mhm.
they're okay with that cycle because
I
they
think
just
they
assume
are.
players are being
I think
whiny.
they are.
But it doesn't feel good, man. And if you
I
want
feel you.
better content, I think something has to change.
I feel you. Listen, Travis, on the core level, I feel you. I think that like when E brought up the numbers right now, right? And it shows what is it, 65, whatever it is. And we're like, damn, that's a drop. They were at 300 something thousand. I think part of them look at it like in this live service era, if you're out the zeitgeist and you go away, you're out of here, bro. I'm just being honest with you. It is very difficult. Look at Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite is popping right now. If you look at it, a core level gameplay, all the things that's added, everything that's at this stage. But they went through that period of no content, going away, couldn't produce it fast enough. And people are like, okay, you're good now. We don't care though. We're here now. And once you lose that player, they're not coming back. You don't have enough time to consume what I consider these sinister 6 games where they just want you to live in it forever and be part of it forever. You know what I'm saying? Once you
Yeah,
lose it,
I think there's lots of examples that prove what you're saying is not accurate.
give
Because
me an
games
example.
go away and come back all the time. Like
Give
they
me an
do it all the
example
time,
of a
man.
successful one as Destiny that goes
Yeah.
away and is still high engaging.
Like Final Fantasy
No Man's
14, every
Sky.
expansion.
Final Fantasy 14, yeah.
Where's the engage? I mean, y'all show me the metrics. I would love to see the player
Yeah.
I
count. That's
mean,
all.
No Man's
there's a
Sky,
ton of it on PlayStation,
same
so we
thing.
won't know. But it's like
Mm.
PlayStation, Final Fantasy 14 is funding Square Enix, so it's got to be doing all right.
Yeah. I really think that there's a lot of examples that show that like games are cyclical sometimes, and even if you're making great content forever, people are gonna get sick of your game or get distracted by other games. Elden Ring comes out, your player base is gonna go down if you know what I mean. And then people come back when the content's good. So I think I hear what you're saying that like
Mhm.
you risk that, and I think Bungie's thinking like you are. They're thinking like, well, once we get locked out, who knows if we'll ever come back? Why take the risk if we can just keep players engaged? But
Mhm.
I think that there is value in the idea of like we have to manage burnout, right? Just like if you have an employee, you want to give them vacation time so that they don't get burned
Absolutely.
out and quit. And I think that there is a relationship with the players where you have to respect their time and only make them come back when you think that you have something that's worth them playing. And I don't think Bungie is doing that very well right now. And so I would love to see them come up with an employee PTO plan for us Destiny mains.
Hey, yo.
Unlimited
You
paid time off that you never use.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
unlimited paid time off,
Yo,
but nobody
He
uses it.
said Star Chores is a job. He said we need PTO. Yo, you.
I do think we need PTO in Destiny a little bit.
As long as
Actually,
you don't
no,
say
it doesn't
PTSD as
even
well. So
it doesn't even need to be. You could drop the P. Just give me the TO. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, just give me a little bit of a break because I do think that there's value in like Cog. I'm sure you can relate to this. You ever take a long break from Destiny and then when you come back, it hits so much harder?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think Bungie could make that a more of like they could normalize that, right?
Right.
Normalize that thing. But I don't think that they want to, and I think it's because they have some player engagement metric that they're probably obsessed with, and they think that it's in their best interest to keep people in there. And I tend to disagree. I think that in my experience with Destiny has been the longer I play it consecutively, the less fun I have, and the worse the opinions I have about the game, the less excited I am about the new expansion because I'm just so burned out. And it's really not until they give me really good content that I come back online.
Yeah, that's the play.
So,
That's the hardcore
I don't know,
player
man.
experience.
I'd love to see them take that risk, but I do realize it is a risk, which is probably why they're not doing
That's
it.
probably why they're doing it. And you know what you know what I remember? I remember the I think it was the FTC leaks where Microsoft was sizing up all the potential acquisitions and Bungie was on it. And I was looking at like the pros and cons, one of the most successful franchises, got live service. But then they had in the negative bullet point, it was like their burn rate is not good. And they were talking about the financials and stuff and like, how much they really making kind of thing. And I think they basically the cliff notes was like they may have an overinflated value of themselves in terms of why Microsoft was considering not acquiring them at one point. This is prior to the Sony acquisition. So it is interesting how they're thought about. And then obviously the elephant in the room, I mean, we got to talk about it. Shout out to Jeff Grubb. I don't know if y'all guys heard it. We're out here as the player base cheering. Final shape, y'all cooked it, y'all did it. Oh my God. From what I'm hearing, they still in trouble. That this board is going to get taken over and borged and assimilated.
I mean, as
And
big
it
as
did
they
not-
are for
Yeah.
what, 1,000-person studio or bigger. I don't even know what the numbers are. I heard like 14 went down to like 11 or 1,200, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They are not a small company. So obviously they need to do some pretty massive numbers. Like, I don't know how big Insomniac or Santa Monica or 343 or Machine. I don't know how big most of those studios are. I don't know a lot of studios that you hear about that are 1,000 people. Now, granted, they are working on Marathon. That is still unproven. Yeah, like Blizzard, Activision, those are going to be bigger. But I don't think the list of studios that crack 1,000 people are as many as like you would think with some of the big games that get put out there. I know Insomniac's not that big and they put out a lot of crap. And then also so I get what you're saying. You are very hung up on losing a player and having them never come back. That is something that you seem very hung up on but I mean, you've said it multiple times as you've been sitting here talking.
Part of it. Yes.
Okay,
Part of it,
then,
yes.
so that's one of the main pieces is losing a player. There are plenty of people in the Discord, plenty of people that I know, and probably otherwise that have had the moment where they lost the player for the other side of the reason. They got bored, they got monotonized into leaving, and they're just like, I'm tired of mediocrity.
Yeah,
and that is
absolutely.
a point to where, again, this is a delicate line. I don't have their analytics to know why they do what they do. They are a business, they are in it to make money. Apparently you're saying it's not working. Maybe that's a thing.
That's what I'm hearing.
So
Yeah,
I'm saying it's not working because they're flooding the market with content. I think that they would probably be more. Look, if what you're doing is not working, your only option is to change what you're doing, right? And so I would say that if their content were sparser but more consistently good, I think it would be helpful to their reputation, and players would generally feel better about the game, and I think that leads to profitability. I could be wrong, but it doesn't really matter if I'm wrong because what they're doing right now also isn't working apparently. And so if
But
that's
we'll see.
true, then
We'll see.
changes
The speculation is that even though Final Shape did great, it may not have been colossal to prove Sony executive leadership based on the targets of Lightfall. Why
Yeah.
we may not to take you over though.
Yeah, I mean, and
think
Lightfall
that's-
could have
I
been
think-
too
I
big
think
of-
that's the result of having a game that is 7 years old.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's the thing.
I was
That's
like,
what I
and
think, too.
that's, I mean, your new player introductions and stuff. We've obviously seen them kind of skip some of that process now. So their new player, they are about keeping the players they have, and unfortunately trying to get blood out of a stone after a while. There's not a lot left. So they do have people logging in. They give you the incentive to log in every week to hope you check the store. And shout out to the artists that do cool emotes and shaders and other things that they want you to spend money on. But also, can those type of influxes, along with like an annual expansion, pay enough of the bills for that scale of a studio? That's where it gets really, really tough.
And this
I
is the
think.
part that I think both of you are trying to get across. I get to my core what you guys are saying about mediocre content. Please do not think I am justifying.
Oh, I'm aware of
mediocre content.
that.
But what I'm trying to
we don't,
explain is
yeah.
this is the conversations I have with Des behind the scenes, right? And I'm not going to call out too much. I'll give one game, for example. In my mind, I look at Xbox, you look at a game like Forza Horizon E, right? And we go like, that is the definitive casual game. It draws tremendous engagement, phenomenal for them, right? It makes sense why that seller is doing well. But then I look at a game like Forza Motorsport, enthusiast, hardcore simulation thing.
Unfortunately, it came out like not great.
Right. Reviews were low, at mediocre, I would say, above average to average. They just coasting by. But there's a part of me in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, that's not a successful thing for them. They can't be happy with that because you must want to strive for something like Horizon. I hear that the monetization that is made on Motorsport, the franchise I think is the mid franchise, is killing it for them. And they are behind the scenes cheering. So what I'm trying to say is when we look at stuff,
Motorsport is mid.
well, I'm biased. I think Horizon is the GOAT. I think
Because
Horizon
he's a
is
casual
Horizon.
driver. He doesn't like racing
Well,
games.
Motorsport being mid, that's crazy, dude. That's an
Look,
unhinged take.
I'm just the casual guy, and Horizon
It's just
speaks
not
to
for
all my
you. You don't like
sensibilities. It's not
car
me.
porn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
E is the complete opposite. Like E
Yeah.
is that guy. He's like, yo, we gonna do this, drive
I put
shaft.
100
and
hours in it when I played it. Yeah.
Facts. He
Yeah, I
that
love
dude, right?
Motorsport.
The thing that blew my mind is games like that and the amount of monetization they can get from this stuff is what drives them crazy. And it blew my mind how happy they were behind the scenes
Oh, you want to
with
hear a
Motorsport. So all I'm saying, just to correlate it, is we are sitting here with this mid content. And let's just say they got the metrics, and I hate to put them on blast like this, but my boy DJ Oros is definitely one of these guys, right?
Oh, I mean,
Where you
Eververse
look-
is paying some bills. No,
That's
you want to
what
know
I'm
the
saying.
no, you want to know the prime example of that?
That's the real.
If you've
Yeah.
ever seen Pirate Software, really popular streamer. Seems like a reasonable dude. I don't know though. But he worked at Blizzard for a very long time. And he worked on a couple different things. He did some back-end security, but the metrics at some point, and this comes into the stupid thing of like everybody can blame, I forget if it was Morrowind or whoever did the horse armor. Todd did the horse armor first.
The
It all
technology.
But basically, it came to the fact that in World of Warcraft, there was a skin for a horse, whatever it was, or a skin for a mount or some mount that you could buy.
Mhm.
That one like mount skin made more money than StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty, the whole
What I'm
game.
telling
No,
people.
I know. And that's kind of people
Yeah.
are like, spend with your wallet. Is like, there's a reason the microtransaction cost $20 is because people are buying them. That's absolutely it. And that's like, but that doesn't change. You can have good artists in an Eververse store,
Mhm.
and you can also have a good game.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what, and I'm not saying Destiny is a bad game, but we're trying to figure out, we're trying to bring this back to solving the episodic model.
Correct.
If you bring into the point where you get your hardcores, typically probably some of the more whales that will like engage in a game for a while, if you give them stuff to grind for and things to do and a good influx of content, and then you give them a couple badass skins to pair with it, they could spend all that money at the same time.
I'm push back. I love what you're saying.
And you're just saying you think the
I'll
weekly
be in the
store.
boardrooms. I'll be in the boardroom. This is what happens.
Well, and that's
They
where
be like,
this is
okay,
analytics we don't have, and this is
right.
always all
That's
we can
that
do is speculate.
speculate, right? And all I try to do is tell you why companies or corporations act the way
You
they
think I
act. when we
don't
get a
know
simple-
that already? I do.
I know that, but I'm just trying to say I'm being realistic
I-
with the wants. That's all I'm saying.
No, I know.
Based on the data that we think they have. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I understand that, but as Travis said, they're trying a different model. It surely doesn't seem like that different of a model yet, but they're trying something different. There's a business reason behind their want to change the weekly login too. Granted, some of that is customer feedback, but something for them is not. If the weekly login model for seasons made bazillions of dollars, you think that would change? You think they would take the feedback for Act 2 and be like, oh, the player said this, but we made $7 billion last week.
Right.
Yeah, there's no way in hell they're making that decision. So if we're
Right.
getting to the point where episodes are dropping now with bigger chunks of content, then Eververse is not as much of a factor in there because the weekly login, they wouldn't make that decision just to satiate the player base because Bungie as a whole typically does not do that. Bungie typically is still going to make the decision for Bungie as a business. So if they're getting to where like, hey, we're going to give you 6 weeks at once, that means even their side of analytics and other things could probably be changing as well. That's what I'm trying to push back and say is like, I understand, like, believe me, when one World of Warcraft horse makes more than an entire game, yeah, we all know microtransactions make way more than they ever should because somebody buys them. It's not me usually, but somebody's doing it, and we know they make tons of money.
And we have a reason for that pushback. That what you're saying. That we have a reason for why they're moving now. We saw the targets prior. We saw how much they missed them. So now the ear is listening more. Now, oh, okay, you want this? You don't like that? Okay. You see what I'm saying? They're more inclined to listen when they're not financially hitting what they're supposed to be hitting, right? And which we got a little bit behind the curtain for the first time as far as how bad they were doing.
Lightfall was a big hole, and again, I don't know if they're still trying to even dig out of that. Not sure.
Right. That's the thing. Yeah, we don't know. That's the data points. Sorry, Travis fall asleep.
Travis is gonna fall asleep over there.
It's early for me, or it was.
I know.
No, but I mean it is right now. Games are hard. You'll see. I mean, alone making games and making money off of games is hard. Sorry. Could probably word things a little better. Travis had quite an expression. For the audio listeners, Travis was like, "Oh, that's some words. That's fun.
Some words. Those words.
It's like the dog head tilt. Huh. You'll watch even games like Alone in the Dark is one I watched recently. Came out, had David Harbour, Jodie Comer, decent little story game, remake of an old game. That studio is closed because that was not successful. Making games is really difficult to make money. So it is still the business side of things. And yes, free-to-play games. I don't pay anything to jump into First Ascendant, but if they sold a bazillion of those freaking bunnies...
You pay so much of your time.
Do what?
You pay in so much
Oh,
of
I
your
know I
time.
pay so much of my time, but they make money because there's enough people buying those Ultimate Bunny ass-out skins that they're... Like, you log in,
saw that.
You log in, and sometimes you log in, and the camera's like pointed up, and it's just ass everywhere.
Yeah, the game has been out for 5 minutes, and there are endgame characters dressed like French maids.
Yep,
all
I saw the
over
French maid
server.
thing too.
And they're like, God damn, people shelling out, homie.
Yeah, they wasted no time at all. And that was what was the one character that you would get through the campaign? Bunny. They knew exactly what they were doing.
They got Ultimate Bunny.
I know. The ones that you bought was Ultimate Bunny, but Bunny was like the tease.
Way hard to unlock.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a grind I will probably never do, I'm sure. If I did, it would be by accident, just because I got lucky or something.
Certainly
but
not.
They're in a weird position. And I think this is where right now, Final Shape, very good. We have grinded all the hell out of the Pale Heart. Reasons to go back to the Pale Heart after you finish Excision, the class items are a little bit of a thing. Like, that's one of the reasons to go back there. That's
class items.
And again, they're not easy to go for a lot of people. There's a lot of randomness to those.
Bro.
They're so easy.
Bro.
It's not hard.
Wait, hold on. I got to go to rant one. I got to give Bungie this one.
Can of worms,
bro.
Everywhere.
I've been holding this one in. I've been trying to be fair.
You've been holding back that fart?
Here's the thing. Yeah, I've been holding. Dual Destiny, you stupid. That was good. Dual Destiny, amazing. We get that. That unlocks the ability to get the class item. Great. Now you say I go around the Pale Heart for the drop rate. small, but okay, at least I don't have to do dual Destiny every week. Here is the problem. There are no other sources for this thing. There are the combination possibilities in each column to get what you want is
Oh, but they
damn near
want you logging in for
impossible.
metrics to keep you playing.
Right, of course. We know why they're doing this foolishness. But here's bro, I got the spirit of necrotic and the spirit of verity to drop. What are the chances of me running this thing with the low percentage of getting it and getting the same item 3 times?
I've had some duplicates, man.
Bro.
I've had some weird RNG duplicates on that thing. Like one of my slots, I've had the same thing like 4 or 5 times in a row. Like a lot of mine, and I have only probably had like maybe 10. I feel like 4 have one of the same perk in every slot.
Right. I hate that. I'm not really feeling the Pathfinder system, but more importantly, please give us more. Now that we've unlocked it, give us more sources where exotics drop, where the class item drop, please, because this is brutal, man. I've never even seen Spirit of the Star Eater. I'm still grinding for all these combinations. I've never even seen half of these perks yet. That's how bad it is. The drop rate is awful. There's no drop rate protection. So, all right, my rant's over.
No, it's like, I mean, if Pathfinder on Pale Heart is not that bad. If you want to run around on Pale Heart. Pathfinder for the for the other stuff, for one, it's buried in a corner, and 2 is really like tedious. So I don't love that. But Pathfinder on Pale Heart, once you unlock Dual Destiny, maybe you could pick if you want a sword or a class item if you finish one of those.
Damn sword.
I mean, you got enough. This is where it comes down to you got enough RNG going in. Do you want to be trying to grind out Ultimate Bunny, or are you trying to go for a class item? Because some people feel like those drop rates are about the same right now, which is not great. One is free, one is paid for.
Fair.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have the answer. I feel like a lot of people were excited about Pale Heart. They finished that stuff up. We're getting the slow weekly drip of 4 weeks worth of story that nothing has overall happened. You have like the side drama of Osiris and Saint talking to each other. I don't know. We don't have a clear idea of what's still happening on Nessus 4 weeks later, which I don't feel like should be happening. So that's not sitting well. And then the future of Destiny, codename Frontiers, we don't know what that is. The whole game base, the whole player base of Destiny does not know what happens after Revenant and then whatever the other episode is. And you're muted, by the way. You're still too quiet for it to catch.
Yeah, it's
Destiny 3.
It's Destiny 3.
Ooh, Frontiers, baby. That's my theory.
I mean, I think that's what a lot of more and more people want it to be that. And if you want, again, what is even a free-to-play game that's got some decent stuff, but Travis gave it a 5, First Descendant, has 130,000 concurrent players on a Thursday afternoon when I'm looking. One of the reasons it's up there is because, one, it's free, and the other reason is because it's new. It's new and it's free. People try stuff. So what they do with whatever comes next, it's kind of hard to get excited about it. They want to sell the episodes, but we don't know what is coming next. And I think that's one of the bigger things right now that people are like, if this is all we're getting in Codename Frontiers, we're not entirely sure. People aren't excited about like, hey, let me grind out this other stuff for the future of Destiny. I don't even know what the hell I'm grinding for. That's the other part. It's not like we know there's going to be expansions. We closed off an entire 10-year saga. I think there's just too much question in the future for people to get excited about grinding hard in a season or right now, standalone stories. Hey, let me go grind out this new sidearm. It's cool. What are you going to use it on? I'm going to use it on the next story mission we get. That doesn't justify my time. Not when I have Blackmouth Wukong, Kuditsugami, Flintlock, Once Human. I mean, you're worried about like people losing interest in Destiny because
I'm not worried about. I'm just talking about.
No, but you're worried about bringing people back. But it's like if they drop something big, people come back. They just do. We've seen that too many.
No, they don't.
300,000 people they did.
The majority of games, they're one and done on this live service thing. Y'all acting like just because Destiny's been here for 10 plus years. We have many graveyards of games. I
know we do.
That have said that have come out strong.
Yes,
and they go away, bro. Like we can't act like this is the thing. That's what we're normalizing it because they've been successful. They've been one of the few that have stood the test of time. That's all I'm saying.
I just think if like they announced a D3, pre-orders would be big. If they
Oh, I'm
drop
there.
a D3, that would definitely break D2's record. I mean, that's what I think they need at this point to keep things fresh and new. I think we need a D3, and if we don't get a D3 with Frontiers, if Frontiers is something else within D2, which is what they've said, by the way, so I'm not keeping my expectations otherwise. They've said D2 is still going, but if it's not a massive
They say lots
change,
of things.
I
Though.
know, but I'm just saying, if it's not a massive change, 7 years, 8 years, how many more years are we going to be grinding strikes and seasonal content? At this point, we don't even have a big bad villain. Biggest thing we know of is
casual. I still have casual gamer friends who have tried to jump into Destiny 2 at multiple points and hit the wall of the really bad player introduction. And I have multiple friends who will text me every once in a while and be like, "See, you're on Destiny. How is it?" And then I'll be like, "Oh, it's good," or "It's bad," or I'll say whatever, and then they go, "Yeah, I'll hop back in it when Destiny 3 comes out."
Yeah, I hear that too.
Like casuals just assume Destiny 3 is happening,
Mhm.
and they have no interest in getting into a game that's like 8 years old. And I think it's I think Destiny is looking at it like, oh, it'll be like Dota 2 or World of Warcraft, and people will just play our game and they'll play this one forever, and we'll never have to release another game. And I just don't know if that works with this game in particular because it had so many issues and they're really not good at our onboarding, which is kind of their Achilles heel for growing the game.
Yeah, Frontier, like, I mean, even with like Travis's review for a 9, one of the reasons it got to a 9 is the enemy race that we got. We got a brand new enemy race.
Pop bottles. Yeah.
And if we're gonna go through what is Frontier, I mean, Awesome One said it in chat. Is like we better have new enemies, new mechanics, new location, no reskins. It's like we have seen. I mean, we just got better devils. We just got better devils with Final Shape. Like we're at the point where we're.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've seen Hung
Power
Jury
creep.
4 times.
Yeah,
Power, like
absolutely.
this. They have squeezed everything they can.
We're right there.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
You know I've been on that train. It's
Yeah.
time. I'm just curious to see if they actually.
DJ Oros can't keep funding Destiny 2 forever. He's gonna run out of money eventually.
I don't know if he's made of money. Maybe he's got that billionaire money and we just don't know it. I feel like his calves would be
made of money.
I feel like his
He's not
calves
made of
would be
money.
better
He
if he was made of money. So I mean,
he's not made of money. He just he takes shots when he plays Destiny.
Yes.
That does not lead to good decision making.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Alcohol is one of those things. They have meetings for that. No, I'm just kidding.
He likes to party. What can I say? Also,
Yeah.
shout out to DJ Oros for including me in his raid groups. I got the raid exotic last night. So
Nice.
Nice. Oh, that's the homie. Salute.
Yeah.
Good kid.
Destiny has made it through its 10-year journey. There are so many people that never thought that would happen early on. When D2 launched, you could have been like, you're going for 7 more years? No. And they landed that plane. We talked to Jimmy last week. Way, way better than we ever could have hoped for. Like the 9 out of 10 for a finish and all of that stuff. We're just like, damn. At this point, we are in maintenance mode, it feels like. And until proven otherwise, which so far episode 1 hasn't really proven that, I feel like Bungie is in a no-win situation until they show how they're going to win us back. And I think that's just like, it's tough because there's not really, I mean, they made 2 strikes. We asked for strikes for a long time that we didn't get. We got 2 strikes and people are like, I'm bored. I'm like, if you do that, they're battlegrounds, but they're basically going to go into the Vanguard playlist, which is the Battleground Strike playlist.
Yeah, but battlegrounds are like bad strikes.
Ooh, good take. Spicy takes.
It's just that they
felt more iconic.
Areas.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the story missions where we'd go through the level backwards?
Yeah, that's like mirror mode in Mario Kart.
They would take a map and then you'd go through it the other way, like you're doing a Mario Kart track in reverse. That's what Battlegrounds feel like to me. It's like you go through the same areas. A lot of them areas you go through in other strikes. And then the boss is either a clone of an enemy or just like a generic centurion. Because to me, a strike is like I'm going through a new area and the boss is going to be a new enemy I haven't seen before. That's not just like a rescan.
They just
of
took
an
the scaler and they're like, hold on, let
existing
me go into Photoshop. Just make
Yeah.
him about 250% bigger.
Patreon the remix.
I just don't
Patreon
think I think that's why the battlegrounds don't feel like incredible. Like
Mhm.
I love the draining the radiolaria lake. I thought that was a very clever way to kind of reuse the area, but you go through the rest of it and you're like, oh, this is kind of identical to like last week's story mission. Like they're basically just, and I get it, man. This content's hard to make. It doesn't mean that they're immune from criticism. You can
course,
still
of course.
say
Yeah.
Yeah, you
this
can say
is
that.
not enough
Yeah.
content for me to be interested and keep playing your game. So
Yeah, it's like somebody's
I
going
like the
through
roundabout
building
one.
the geometry, placing the enemies, making sure the AI functions, scaling up that enemy to turn him into a boss in Photoshop. No, I'm just kidding. I know it's harder than that, guys. Don't give me that. Can't just be like boss. Sometimes they are just bigger enemies, though. It is funny though. I think it would really throw me off sometime if I just saw like a big ass goblin as a boss. Not a centurion, not a
Yeah.
hydra, just a giant goblin. For a change, I would be like, I didn't expect that. That would throw me off,
That'd
and
be
you'd probably have a
hilarious.
comment about that. But
That'd be hilarious.
yeah, recycling assets is just not that entertaining. And it's like they use, the Vex palette, and it's like, is the Vex palette that we see in this episode gonna stick?
Right.
Is it not? Or is it just only when you do that activity and then the normal Nessus planet still lives on its own? That's the whole live service that is not there. It's not like, hey, you're going to go to Nessus and all of this stuff is there because we've changed up the destination. No, you go into the helm in these instanced areas that they can kind of box off, and then Nessus still stays the exact same way. Giant supplicant boss torpedoing towards the power. It's just like, and it just has like 2 billion health and everyone has to fire on it.
Hilarious.
Yeah, just get throw some wrenches into things. I think that's like I was hearing I think it was Maddie talking about Sekiro, and then he said the demon boss from Dark Souls boss. There's one boss in there that is not like a Sekiro boss because a lot of Sekiro is all about deflecting, and there's one boss that is straight up dodging, which you train yourself out of so much in that game. And he's like, that stupid boss. I'm like, but throw me off occasionally. Don't have everything be so predictable. It's like, oh, we went through a strike, we went down the ramp, we shot the boxes, and then we fought a centurion, or we fought a captain, or we fought. And that's why the dread was actually nice, because we were fighting subjugators that totally threw me off. And then we may not see the dread for the next year, because we're going to see Hive, we're going to see Scorn, and they're out there. So it is that weird debate of, do you also think that if they just developed everything and then dropped an entire episode, say we get to episode 3 and they're like, here's 9 weeks and this thing lasts for 18 weeks, here it all is. What are you shaking your head for? Don't give
I'm
it.
shaking your head to answer your question preemptively. No. Do you want to eat flavorless stale crackers 1 week at a time, or do you want to eat it all at once?
I don't want to eat the whole box
You
of
know what I
saltines. No, what I'm actually asking is, this is more of like a development thing. Instead of like live service, the implementation of rolling it out, I feel like some of that stuff is still in development while we're getting to it. And I feel like if they
I
did,
don't think so.
you think it's just all just slowly and they're moving on? Okay. Then yeah, I won't
Yeah.
even ask what I was going to ask.
Because that would imply that it takes a week to make like that content, and there's no way that
Yeah.
it probably would take them a week just to get the VO done for those voice recordings you listen to. You know.
So
what I
are
mean?
we
Like,
going to go back? So it was like, so what is the amount? How I'm trying to figure this out to ask a question. Are we going to go back to the Destiny 1 level of what like Cog said, where we're like, now we're getting 2 mini expansions before something bigger? Is that the size of content that can be big enough and high quality enough that it feels good to play? That way we're not eating the box of saltines. They actually give you like a family size box of Oreos instead. Like this is the better.
I think that would be the smart thing to do, and I think that they're probably realizing at this point that something's got to give if they want to maintain control of their company. So I hope that they make a pivot like that, and maybe this is a transitional period, and Frontiers is going to have a completely different model or what have you. But yeah, I think they've started to realize over the years that when they rush stuff, it feels bad, and that the seasonal model / the episodic model is basically run its course, and players are sick of it. And I think they're also looking at the problem of gaining new players, which has been a problem that they've had
That's
forever, and that they've tried to address many times, and that it continues to be the main look. If you can't grow, if the only people you can sell to are your current customers, that is very bad as a business. So they got to address that. I don't know what that looks like in the future, but it's not my job to know. It's just my job to tell you how Destiny feels to play,
Yeah.
which
I
right
feel
now
that
is not
part.
great.
I feel
Yeah.
that part.
Yeah, the honeymoon is very over. I think that's hitting a lot of people pretty hard. So,
And my
well,
honeymoon has not even begun yet.
yeah,
Mm.
that's in
Uh,
how far from your wedding is
2
your
weeks.
honeymoon? 2 weeks? Okay.
Oh, my honeymoon is not until next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I saw what you were looking to do for that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You guys got your invites? Cog, do you have your invite within grabbing distance? You always have like
Oh,
all your
actually,
items around you in a circle.
the initial, but not the latest one. Not the latest one. I got
Wow,
it.
and it's E this time that has it.
E's on
Okay.
point. Yeah, yours in the living room. The newest one.
Lord Travis Northup,
Lord,
as they
Lord, I love
bind
it.
themselves forevermore in marital bumbledom. I read that and I'm going, all right, you had way too much fun with your invitation. It's great.
They had a ball
Yeah,
doing
you
I
guys
love
had a
that
good
you
time.
you can tell by looking at it who designed the invitations, and then you can
not
tell by
you.
reading it who wrote the
Wrote
copy.
the-
Yeah, she did the art and you did the body.
Yes.
You did the
Oh,
body
yeah,
text and she did the art design. Yeah,
The verbiage is on
she's
point.
UI. You're the the middle part.
The copywriter.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I feel like we've beaten this horse to
Yeah, we beat
absolute
this to
death.
Yeah, we beat it to death.
But yeah, it's like next week. And what made I think this season not great for other people too was like you couldn't even focus the weapons. So it's like if we
Yeah,
don't
that-
get if we get one battleground and maybe the focus is like
Yeah.
week 3, people are not going to be happy. So we will be
It's like,
curious. But
oh.
yeah, it's going to be an interesting little bit of time here.
Mhm.
And then we'll have
Yeah,
3 weeks of chilling. Oh, we'll have 3 weeks of solstice. I'm sorry. That's what's going to fall in.
A couple housekeeping notes before we leave.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cog
Yo.
earlier in the episode said the game it was average, mediocre. Mediocre means below average. Ebontis said that they beat a horse to death. The expression is that you beat the horse and it was already dead. And the fact that you beat a horse to death has a very different meaning. I just want to point that out.
We're beating a dead horse, not beating a horse to death.
Yeah, you said you beat that horse to death, and my response was like, "Wait, so we're just like, what does that mean?
I didn't.
What does that mean? We beat the horse to
That's
death,
probably a
so
fun
we're just-
Freudian slip in some way. I'm not entirely sure what that implies, but
it
yes,
just implies we're cruel, not
Yeah.
that we were
Yeah,
doing something
cruel
pointless.
individuals.
yeah, we're
just
not
mean.
critics. We're just animal cruelty going on over here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, like the Last Word podcast has been shut down because PETA came after them. So yeah.
There is
I love
people-
G-Man in chat.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are killing me. We got a future glue farmer. And then this G-Man's like, the poor horse.
Poor
What
horse.
happened?
Yeah.
Uh,
So
Zer's
the
not happy
dead
with us
horse
either.
has been thoroughly beaten again, apparently.
Did you know? Did you know that PETA, the organization that's pro-animal, released a list of alternate expressions that they want you to say to
Oh, God.
avoid expressions where you're hurting animals? So rather than kill a bird with 2 stones,
Oh, that's ought to be
PETA
good.
wants people to start saying feed a bird with 2 scones. And they have a whole bunch of these. Like
It's a fat pigeon
like-
with 2 scones, man.
yeah, like they have one for the beating a dead horse. I can't remember it, but
Oh
they
my
have
God.
they have a whole bunch of no, it's feed 2 birds. I can't remember. Anyway, they have a
No,
whole bunch of like
it's killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
yeah, but I think theirs is like feed 2 birds
Yeah.
with 1 scone or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But
that
anyway,
makes scones
they
are-
have a whole bunch of like replacement sayings, and it actually made me realize that a lot of our expressions are about animals and
animal abuse.
skinning a cat. You like we have a
Yeah,
skin,
that's
you
true.
know,
We
There's
do
there's
have
more
one
than
of
one-
those
more than
animal
one way to skin a
animal
cat.
Yeah.
expressions.
there's like a lot of expressions that are kind of related to like hurting animals, which is
Yeah.
kind of weird. But anyway,
That's
ways
just
PETA is
humanity in general. We're pretty dark. I mean,
Kick a dog
I
when
honestly
it's
just think it's
down.
that they're old.
Yo,
think it's
we
that
do got a lot of
pour salt in an open wound. Like we're just pretty dark in
Yeah.
general. Yeah. Like
Yeah, we have a lot of expressions. Anyway, nobody's
the
gonna
cat out
say
the
any of that
bag.
stuff, PETA, but I do think it's funny.
who let the cat out of the bag? Yeah.
Yeah, why is the cat in the bag
It's
in the
like,
beginning?
When I was in college, back in my day when kids would say gay, like, oh, that's gay, and it was
Mhm.
like an expression, and they were trying to get people to stop that.
Mhm.
I was part of a program in college where we would try to say gay when things were good. So we'd be like,
Oh,
"Oh,
like
dude,
happy?
that's like that's pretty. Dude, this song's gay." Like we would try to like use it as like a
You're
positive.
trying to flip it.
You're supposed to be trying to flip it.
Dude, have you heard this new gay song? It's
Dude. Yeah,
Oh.
dude, that party was gay last night. That was sick.
people
dude.
are looking at you like, huh,
and it was
Like,
and it was
you're going to be getting a
It
few
was-
head tilts out of that one.
it was not. Let's just say this: it was.
Oh,
an
this stream is gay.
unsuccessful
This stream
movement.
is so. This podcast is so gay.
This podcast is hella gay, dude.
Oh,
So
my
sick.
Lord.
Damn it, Travis.
Anyway.
that's. I don't even want to know what the.
Yo, it's the hot tub party. SB, not like this.
Oh shit!
Hey, yo,
Oh.
That's the place to end it.
that's the
That's
place.
the place.
We gotta get out of here, y'all.
All right, and
Last
on that
word, it got
bombshell, episode number 303. Travis, good to have you back. Cog, it was fantastic. Chat, you literally killed us. Thank you very much. And on that bombshell, this episode, it has been
Last
the
word.
last word.